Hello there, and welcome to another edition of What's Between Us. What is this that I'm watching here? This is a relationship show, a G-rated relationship show, where we discuss things as though we have an entire studio filled with small little kindergartners. And it's a lot of fun. So you can say everything that you want to say, but just say it in an adult fashion as though you're speaking in front of small children. No use of the three-letter X word, strictly forbidden. Also, so it's a lot of fun. We talk about a lot of fun issues that face us all. None of us are experts, but we all have experience in our topic, which is relationships. So settle down, enjoy the show, and please give us a call. Be the third person in our conversation tonight on What's Between Us, where we will be discussing the laws of attraction. I also want to discuss tone of voice and how that affects your relationships, in your communications, whether you're married, whether you're single, that sort of thing. I represent the female's perspective, and I always have a different man on the show to represent the man's perspective. I call him a GG, a gentleman guest co-host. And my gentleman guest co-host, my GG tonight, is Frank Zagunis. Frank, welcome to the show. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much.
Have you ever done television before?
No.
Well, you're in for a treat. It's a kick in the pants. Most of the people the guys that do it do find it actually quite painless and a lot of fun.
Good. So far, okay.
So far, you're okay.
I'm all right.
So tell us all about yourself a little bit. You're single?
Yes.
Okay. I usually get single men on the show. That way I get to meet more single men. It's a lot of fun. Plus, you don't get in trouble when you go home if you say something that maybe your spouse or girlfriend might find horribly, you know, offensive or something, or invasion of their privacy. So you are single. You've been single for just a few years now?
Yeah, a couple years. And I have a couple kids and 2 boys, and they come and go, and they're just about out of college, so.
Oh, great.
Having a pretty good time. Just.
Was it fun raising 2 guys?
Yeah, it was great. It's, you know, true freedom comes when the kids leave home and the dog dies. So I still have a dog at home, but.
So you did you guys do the traditional kind of like break up once the kids left the house kind of thing?
Sure, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It's tough being, if we were talking about this before the show started, it's tough being a man when you first get divorced, because a lot of men, and women too, have a difficult time being alone, don't you think?
Yeah, I think just people want company, and yet, you know, it's important just to enjoy your own company and be okay being alone.
Yeah.
I think sometimes being married or being in a relationship at all is not necessarily about finding the right person, just about being the right person. And then I think it's just a matter of.
You mean being the kind of mate that other people will find attractive, and that you'll.
Or not, but at least be comfortable with yourself, and you know, not have to find something to fill a gap or whatever, you know. Just be comfortable.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think that's tough, and that's a lot. I've heard of that a lot with women that have ended up getting out of a marriage because they went from being daddy's little girl to somebody's wife and mother, and they never got the chance to be themselves. And you only have one life. You don't get to go redo it. And you know, this time I think I'll spend a few more years single. If you know, you just have to learn to like yourself and feel comfortable with yourself. And I think the best relationships are the ones where the other person brings out the best in you.
Well, that's the idea, I think, of any relationship, friendship or family, or, you know, any relationship. I think it's the idea to help each other become better people. I think that's kind of the idea behind opposites attracting, for one, because I think that's just, opposites attract for a reason, and typically it's to create a hybrid or some idea that the 2 opposites can come together and discuss things and or, you know, create something that's better.
Yeah.
Whether it's cultures or men and women or, you know, different
You
people
should
or
be
ideas.
each other's biggest cheerleader, I think. I used to think that when I was married way back many moons ago. It should be the two of you against the world instead of you against each other. And too often I think people are harsher with their spouse or their girlfriend or their boyfriend than they should be. And they should actually be the nicest to their girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife than they are to other people. But they feel
easy.
so comfortable.
Exactly.
Why is it we are the worst to some of the people the closest to us?
Because we're vulnerable. And they're vulnerable because you open up the trust gate, and then you're there, and it's easy to shoot at somebody when your wingman is covering your blind spot.
Oh, yeah. Well, so wait a minute. So their wingman's covering the blind spot. If they're, why? I don't get why are we feeling comfortable around them? We feel free to should let down all our guards and just be rude to them and be inconsiderate.
No, it's just easier to do that with somebody you know than somebody you don't know. A total stranger. I think you just know the spots.
Oh.
You know how to push the buttons.
Yeah. Now, if anybody wants to call in, please do call in. I have no idea if you are calling in because my teleprompter's not on. But somebody will tell me if somebody does call in because I've got the monitor on in the teleprompter area. So a little note to the staff. Yeah, I think that a lot of that is unfortunate that people do tend to take it out. And I was talking to a friend of mine today, and she said that she and her husband sometimes they'll get into arguments, oftentimes because of her tone of voice, which is one of the topics I wanted to talk about on the show, coincidentally enough. If you're to say to somebody like this, you say. You know, I really hate you. Or if you say, I love you. Now, which one did you feel more love from?
Well, I think you can see through both of them if you're not careful. Tone of voice is very interesting.
But which did you get
I understand
the energy?
The first one is a lot smoother, nice, and softer.
Even
but
though I said I hate you.
It's got to be sincere. It must be
The
sincere.
words I said were not the tone that I was using. But then in the second one, the tone was hateful, but what I was saying was nice. And do you have any idea what the percentage? But by the way, we have a little disclaimer here. We are doctors of absolutely nothing, not a thing. So all of this is just purely opinion. So jump right in and give us your opinion as well at any time you feel like it. Don't be afraid. The water's warm. So
communication is more than just the tone of voice. It has to do with what you're saying and how you're saying it, what you mean behind it. And I think even when you say you hate somebody like in a very sweet way, and they know you're kidding, you can get away with that, or you know what I mean? Because they know it's a joke, or they know the laws of attraction are such that really the idea of liking somebody is more like a metaphysical frequency of thought, where two people are thinking the same thing at the same time. Therefore, you think they're smart, or that they're beautiful, or that they're marvelous, or terrific, and then you're in love, for a period of time until those frequencies change.
Oh, interesting.
And then you.
You sure you're not a doctor or anything?
I'm not a doctor of anything. And yet then you have to make a decision to love somebody, which is different than feeling the love with somebody.
Really? There's a decision to be made. It's not just this overwhelming thing that you can't stop it?
No, you can fall out of love with somebody and still choose to love them. The in love versus.
I see. The in love versus the
decision to love somebody.
The in love, I don't know that there's much of a decision on that one.
No, that's a frequency that happens from time to time, and it's a beautiful, wonderful thing, and it might last a long time.
Yeah, I think 3 months, 4 months.
Sometimes 3 minutes is
enough.
enough.
Looks like we do have a call waiting. Since the teleprompter's not on, I'll just jump right in. I have no idea what your name is, so go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mona.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to know, how do you know if your boyfriend is lying to you or saying the truth?
Okay, Mona, do you have any examples you'd like to share with us? I think you've got, Mona.
Long-distance relationship.
Okay, Mona, wait just a second. Could you please turn your television off? because you can't listen to the show. You should be able to hear us through the phone. Because if you've got the television on, it screws it up. It takes a long time for you to answer, and it's pause. And
Do you hear me now better?
yes, because yeah. So I think that's better. You turned it off. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So you have a long distance relationship, and those are tough.
He made a promise to me, which is long term.
Oh, so he wants to marry you?
Yes, to be together and, you know, all those things. And so, and I live here, and he lives all the way in another country.
Is there any plans for him to come here?
Yes, either that or either I could go somewhere closer so we could live together in another country.
Okay, so what's standing in the way from one of those things happening?
It's just like believing, you know, that because it's such a long time away. It's how do you know if this person is actually true and, you know, real, is not wasting time, or, you know, has other like plans, you know, or other I don't know how to say the word, like
How often do you talk on the phone?
once a month or twice a month
For how long?
for like an hour, 2 hours.
Well, that's good.
Wow.
Do you have any ideas on this, Frank?
It's a tough one. You got a relationship that's wide open, and you know promises have been made, and anything could happen. I think the idea is that she has to know, or not give energy to what not to doubts and fears and things that are going to ruin the relationship, and he must do the same thing, because the doubt and fear can creep in, and you can start feeding it and asking whether it's true or not, and who knows, but it can become very true very quickly.
How long?
By just by your own mind saying it's so. So there's already doubt, there's already fear, and that has to be either thrown out or accepted as the you know, that he loves her and that he wants to marry her, and just have that be the case. Either you believe it or you don't.
Yeah. Now, how long ago did you see? When was the last time you saw him? When we were together?
May of 2007.
Oh, okay. And was that the first time you ever met each other, or?
No, first time was December of 07. I mean, sorry,
06?
05.
05. Oh, wow. So this has been going on for a few years?
Yes, 3 years.
Is there any reason to doubt him?
Yeah. What has he said that's made you doubt him? Good point.
Besides the time and space.
Recently, he picks out little things and then he blames me, like, based on trust. It all has to do with trust. Like, for example,
Huge.
in class, I sit beside a guy, or I talk to a guy who's a classmate, and then he goes off to say, like, why don't you sit beside girls, you know?
Well,
you
he's got
always
a jealousy
go
problem
too
already.
closer to guys.
Why do you want to
and
marry
those
him?
things.
Yeah, he sounds awfully possessive and jealous. That is really a bad trait. That is, I can't even tell you how bad that trait is. I mean, do you get jealous when he tells you he sits next to a woman in his class?
The thing is, he doesn't go to school. He's done. He's already a doctor.
Oh, okay. Can I ask what country it is?
Iran.
Iran. Oh, well, that is a very patriarchal society.
Yeah.
So they're expecting. Are you Iranian as well?
Yes, yes. But I live here in Portland.
Yeah, but see, that's the culture. How long have you lived here?
8 years.
8 years, yeah. But you remember that's the culture that they have over there. You to be cloaked and you know you probably wear the traditional garb. Am I right?
Yes, a little bit. Even though I grew up in Dubai, which is close by, it's not really Iranian culture. People are more open-minded in Dubai.
Oh.
I've never been with someone in Iran. This is the first time. So.
Okay, but you really love him a lot.
I do, but recently, you know, when he doesn't trust me and everything, I feel like it's not worth it for me to, you know, waste so much energy if he's going to continue like this, because, you know, it's just not, like you said, you have to, you know, be each other's friend, not like fight the world, not like fight each
because if
other.
you're fighting and you're not even married yet, girlfriend, I'm sorry, but it's going to get only downhill from here. It really is.
Such an encouragement.
Well, I hate to say it, but
Well,
it's true. It's better to cut the ties
Yeah, I
now.
understand. Yeah.
I mean, you want to be with somebody. See, I don't know enough about the culture and that whole thing. If that is where your family wants you to go, that sort of thing, and you really need to be with somebody from the same part of the world, then that's probably what you're going to, he's probably...
No, actually, my parents aren't, you know, they're not controlling, you know, I started this, so they stopped even interfering because they say, it's your life, you're going to do whatever you're going to do, but this is not good, you know.
Well, the Western culture is wide open.
So the parents don't like it either, huh?
Yeah, my parents, they don't.
Well,
Western culture is wide open, and there's a lot of freedom, a lot of choices, and it's good and it's bad because of the same reasons. So either you enjoy the culture, it's culture again is group thought, and cultures, everybody wants to be right even with their own ideas. So group thought being the Western culture and the Iranian culture are definitely clashing. It doesn't mean that one is right, one is wrong necessarily. It means that there's going to be some kind of an idea that comes out of this that's maybe even better.
Yeah.
And ideally, you have a wide open Western culture that there's a lot of fear about that openness, and that choice and freedom is a scary thing. It's a very scary thing.
Yeah. You think it's like maybe his fear of losing me, that he's like jealousy and all those things?
Possibly, but fear again is not a great motivator. I mean, it's a great motivator for short periods of time, but it's not a good life source, to tap into all the time.
It usually, it's been my experience that it usually denotes insecurity. And insecurity and jealousy is the worst possible, in my opinion, worst possible personality trait that you can have, and you want to avoid it at all possible. It's one thing to get jealous if too many men are looking at your wife or girlfriend because she's so beautiful, or something like that. I can understand that for him, but being that far away and trying to be so controlling, and he's going to be very controlling. If you're ever with him, he would be jealous. I've heard some horror stories about people from that part of the world that sometimes, they get physically violent at times. So I would be very, very concerned about that. But like my wonderful, blessed, passed on, unfortunately, Mrs. Dyer, this nice elderly lady, lived next door to us in Taos. She's from Texas. She said, my sister came over one time. She said, well, he's very jealous. And she looked at her and she said, take your hat off and run. Just take your hat off and run. So that's what I'm going to tell you. Take your hat off and run. I would not stick with that.
But that's a choice he has to make. I mean, it's a choice you have to make. And I don't know how old you are, and I don't know, what your options and choices are, but there's a lot of choices and a lot of options here that, obviously you're rethinking a lot of stuff. But I'm just saying, don't let fear and doubt get stronger, ruin everything. If it's either true or it's not true, and you just have to kind of decide whether you want it or don't want it. But don't torture yourself with fear and doubt.
Yeah, you're only on this world for a certain length of time. You might as well spend it being as happy as much of it as possible. And I would think long and hard about it. And what does your dad say about him?
Oh, my dad doesn't even know.
Ooh, ouch! So your mother's the only one who knows.
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll see,
Well, you know the situation. We don't. We're just a silly TV show, and as we said, we're doctors of absolutely nothing. So, so good luck with it, and please do watch the show again and give us a call and keep us posted on how it all goes.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, well,
tough
thanks.
situation.
Yeah. You know what? I want to go. We have this one segment thing that we do on the show. It's called Portland Perspectives. And what we do is I go out with my video camera to public places and accost perfectly normal people that were minding their own business and ask them if they want to be on my TV show. And I tell them the question right after I turn the camera on, so I get their real response. And then I put them all together, then I ask them all the same question. And this one is on DVD number 4, and it is the first cut. It's the top 3 qualities. What I did was I went out and I asked, what are the top 3 qualities that you're looking for in somebody that you're dating? And I this is what I got, and then we're going to talk about this, and then I want to talk a little bit more about tone of voice, and I want to talk about how do you know when somebody likes you, if you're a guy, and how do you know that she likes you and she wants you to ask her out? And as a woman, how do you know how to like send off a message that you want them to ask you out? And should women ask men out? Are women asking men out more than the other way around? Let's just get into that details as well after we watch this Portland Perspectives, which is on DVD 4, and it's the top 3 things.
There's another call coming.
Here we go.
Her smarts and personality. How organized she is, and how disciplined she is when it comes to the kids.
About my husband? That's hard. No, just kidding. That he's a great dad. He's good with our kids and spends a lot of time with them. And he's a very giving person. Like, he likes to help people out a lot, just in different situations. And he's pretty patient, so that's nice also.
She understands me pretty good, just because I'm from a different culture. She knows what's important in my life. To give me space when I need space, and the trust that she has on me.
He has sense of humor. He's always. Rarely I saw him in a bad mood. He's always cheerful, and he balanced my bad humor. So usually I'm the cranky person in the relationship, and he is always with a smile, and no matter what happened at work, he always brings a smile at home.
3 favorite things. Okay, she's a great cook, and I'm not kidding. She's amazing, and I love eating, and I can't cook, so it's great to have her. She does an amazing job with the kids, and I love her personality. She's tough when she needs to be tough, and she's funny when she needs to be funny, and we have a great time together. We're more like friends. You know, I don't think she's my wife. She's my best friend.
Definitely, to be best friends, you have to have the passion going into marriage. You have to have a good day-to-day thing. You have to have those 3 things. If one falls off like a tripod, the tripod falls over.
3 favorite things. She's motivated, she's beautiful, and she takes really good care of me.
Obviously, everybody's looking for somebody they're attracted to, right? And so the other thing is probably attitude in life, on general things. Whether it's money, whether it's romance, whether it's going out and doing things, whether it's family. Just somebody has generally a similar attitude that I have. All right.
3 things. Okay, 1, not gay. 2, not British. 3, glasses. Glasses.
You like glasses?
Yeah, I like glasses.
Gay. I like British women who don't wear glasses. I'll tell you what she's looking for someone around 5'10", muscular. And what else?
Realtor.
Plays tennis.
Honesty.
Is there any room out there?
Trustworthiness, and a loving heart.
The 3 most important things?
G-rated.
G-rated, okay. 1 is personality, okay. Somebody who can both sort of give straight opinions, and even if it bugs the other person, but also laugh a lot. So good sense of humor, strength to stick up for what they believe in, and very straightforward, and somebody who can smile really well.
She's sweet, social, and takes good care of the kids.
He's non-confrontational, and he is the man for homework. The kids go to him for those math assignments. That is wonderful. And he's consistent. He's there for everybody.
The 3 humor. Okay. A good approach, and A great smile.
How nice he is to his mom.
That's good.
His honesty and his morals.
If she doesn't yell, if she has pretty eyes, and if she loves me.
Kindness, drive or ambition, and
Good skills.
lots of good skills.
Honesty, trust, someone who takes care of himself.
A humorous lady, an honest lady.
Physique.
Go straight for the
Great humor and nice eyes.
What are your 3 favorite things about that you want in a man?
That would be smart, funny, and kind.
What?
Honesty, unconditional, and support.
Flag is on the plane.
Unconditional love.
You know, one thing I like about women, if they're not boring, however, men can be very boring too after a long relationship. And also, I like to have them athletic and have very nice figures.
What are the 3 things you like most about your husband?
That he's caring, and he's giving, and he's funny.
All right, there it is. Portland Perspectives. You might be captured on one of my Portland Perspectives. If you see me around town with my little Sony camcorder, I might just pop on up and interview you and put you on TV. And it's a lot of fun. But it was interesting to get their ideas of what, there's a wide variety of different things that people are interested in, as if they were going to name their top 3 qualities. What did you think?
Yeah, a lot of them are the same things everybody's looking for, trust and loyalty and all of that.
Yeah, and let's see what Larry has to say. Larry, sorry, thank you for waiting.
That's fine. I wanted to make a comment that, to me, the qualities that the people are attracted to, or I always look at it like bees to flowers. It's a natural thing. But most often heard is the trust. And what I have found in my life after having 2 different wives have, well, for want of a word, affairs.
Okay.
They betray your trust. And what I've learned is, and I've kind of made a survey of this, that it seems like at first it's like the bees to the flowers, and then you get married, you have the children, then you start raising the children, you buy the little house, you have a child, you get a little bit bigger house, and somewhere between 10 and 15 years, the married couple start growing apart. It's more like the woman has nesting instinct, and she's more with the children. And what I've always seen is the husband usually is what I call third-ary. He puts the children in front. He puts the wife in front. And then, like I said, then when you start looking back at the attractions of trust, and then you have a woman betraying your trust, it's kind of like... it's like we all like those attributes, those qualities, but it's like at some point in time, the reality of the situation is life changes.
Yeah. Now, what do you think stimulates the infidelity? Do you think it's because you're not putting her first? She's not putting you first. You're putting children first, and then you're like, who's this person I'm living with?
Well, if you wanted to say, like, okay, going through a counselor, it was kind of funny because basically the counselor that the second wife told her to grow up and get her head out of where.
It's a G-rated show.
I can't really. You think you know somebody 10 and 15 years into a marriage, especially having children and stuff. But the reality of the thing is life changes, and the very qualities that attracted you up front change also with time. And I think I found myself more as a father figure because of being the dependent person, because of caring, being humorous, because of taking care of all the issues that they never have to think about. However, that backfires on you. As an example, most men I know divide, that's woman's work. Whereas I've been single enough, obviously, with 3 marriages, it's no big deal to me to wash clothes, iron clothes, cook, clean house. I can do better than most women. And in marriage, I share that stuff.
Yeah.
Most men I know don't do that. So most people I talk to think my wives are so lucky. And then to have them betray you 10 and 15 years into it because, what, they are dissatisfied, they're looking for a fling. Who cares? It's the idea that you were originally attracted for the very qualities that you're talking about, but I've still made a survey that 10 and 15 years into it, they start...
Is it from your little unscientific survey, do you think that it's mostly the women that are seeking other company, or do you think it's men?
Well, I don't know as far as gender. What I just see is them growing apart. Well, I think the main thing is, in my mind, is that the woman is more of the nesting instinct, and as long as her children are around her, she keeps the holidays sacred, the Thanksgivings and Christmases. The kids are in school, but the man he's out there being dependent. He's taking care of the bills, and he's trying to protect his family. In fact, there's a book that I read about.
You mean he's being independent? He's not being dependent, because dependent means that he's relying on her for everything.
No, I didn't mean dependent. He is. The family's depending on him.
Is that what you're saying? They're dependent upon him?
Yes. In my culture, the man was the provider.
Yeah, that's a huge reason, Larry, why I started doing this show. I've discussed it. I don't know if have you ever seen the show before?
Nope.
Well, is because I feel like there's a need for this kind of show where we just talk about these basic things that everybody out there is dealing with, because everybody at some point has had a relationship or is in a relationship, and they're dealing with a lot of these same things. Meanwhile, everybody is so involved in their own, they don't realize that a lot of other people are dealing with the same things. Hence the popularity of group therapy.
Well, but here's the sad point. If you look at divorce rates, okay, everybody, I mean, wouldn't it be nice to be able to trust somebody with your heart, your mind, and your soul? It used to say, till death do us part. However, our society is more of a throwaway society. The oaths don't mean a whole heck of a lot. I look at our moral fiber of our culture, and I don't see a lot of moral fiber. We're even throwing out "In God We Trust," right?
Yeah, but I think a lot of it also has to do with the changing gender roles that we've had since we were raised. Since we were raised.
Since the 70s, a lot
Since the 70s. We were raised, and how were you raised? What was Mom and Dad doing?
Properly. No.
Well, what were Mom and Dad doing?
That was a traditional situation.
Which was?
It was one bread earner, which was my father, and then my mother stayed home with the kids and took care of everything, had with traditional roles.
See?
And they've been married 55 or so years, and they're still alive and well and still committed to each other.
And I was in the same situation. And see what happens, Larry, were your parents that way too?
Yes, but see, you're going to hit on the very part that I say our culture, capitalism, has. It used to be the first house I bought was a one-car garage and a big house. You had a large family. Mom stayed home, taught the kids right, wrong, love, and Dad made enough money to support them.
Right, but a lot of that's changed culturally and with taxes and incomes and
I know that.
A lot of pressure. And then what's happened, the earlier point was about opposites attracting, because opposites do attract. You get the organized person attracted to the creative person, and you get the night person created to, relate somehow to the morning person. And these things that get you together originally for some God's form of entertainment of some kind, eventually, like you said, they drive each other nuts for the very same reasons later. And it may take 10 or 15 years or 20, and then all of a sudden the same things that attracted you to each other are now the reasons that you just can't stand it. And I think a man sometimes marries a woman in hopes that she never changes. And a woman marries a man in hopes that he does. And then the opposite happens.
That's so true.
And then God's having a good time up there going, see, this is the way it is. And, but now we have a choice. Now women have more choice, and they basically exercise that choice more often than they ever used to, because they have more income and they have more, it's not the one bread earner.
Yeah, but I don't want us to miss the point that what I was getting to also is why I started the show. We saw a certain thing that we parent. We are children, we grow up, we see what mom and dad do, and we subconsciously or not, even though consciously we were constantly told that mother was going to work as well as father, and that we still subconsciously want to do what we saw our parents do. We want to parent what we saw our parents do. So the woman a lot of times wants to try and do everything to have the good income and take care of the house and do all this stuff. And the husband, even though he knows technically he's supposed to share in it, you're a great example of somebody who is actually sharing in it. But a lot of men, they kind of still think that, my dad didn't have to come home and vacuum the floor and stuff. He just got to come home and mom had dinner ready.
I call them
and the cocktail at 5 when you walk in, and then, the whole thing, it's gone. That era's gone.
Yeah, and so we're like caught in this vortex. Our generation is caught in the vortex.
You know the irony of this?
The vortex,
Both you folks have had a conventional type upbringing. But if you stop and think, now that mom and dad are in the workforce, who suffers? And you start looking at the kids today that, they call them targeted at-risk kids. Because mom and dad are so tired from working down at the office, they don't have the time to parent, so they give their kids money. The kids grow up not learning good work ethics. Look at the credit, the situation that our country's in today just because of credit. People want to live now. They're not taught to save and for that rainy day like we were. See,
that's true.
It's a
the pressure's been put on by the capitalist
society
system.
we're in, and we're willing to go ahead and take that chance. We all want the same thing: trust, respect, love, honor, humor, all that stuff. But then again, like I said, in 10 or 15 years, you start
paying the
growing
price
apart. And I've just seen that for the last 60 years.
Yeah, it's amazing. Larry, thank you so much. We have to go on. We've got another call waiting. But thanks, and please keep watching the show, okay?
You bet.
All right, bye-bye, Larry.
Bye.
All right, well, let's go on to Bruce is on the phone. Is this the Bruce I know?
Yes, this is the Bruce you know.
This is Bruce Buffington. He has his own show here on TVC TV.
Well, I've worked your show, and I watch it all the time, but I've never called in.
Oh, I'm so glad you're doing it, and I do want you to volunteer again, please.
Well, you have that coming, and somewhere down the road, I'm taking some time off.
Okay, no problem. So what's your comment tonight?
Well, the thing of it is, I saw your topic was laws of attraction, which kind of perked me up a little bit because, I've had a couple of relationships over the years, but I'm happily married now, and my children are all grown up. But in the early days, I struggled with what attracted me to people, and usually it was a physical attraction initially. And in a lot of cases, those things can go quite wrong, as we know. And not that I was such a good-looking person, but... You
are very handsome.
Well,
so I imagine you didn't have much trouble attracting that beautiful wife of yours.
Well, that's the thing that I'm getting to, that through all of that, that's what I ended up with, was a very beautiful person.
Yeah, but when you're young, I think good looks are what you need to be attractive as a male. When you're middle-aged, it's charm. When you're old, it's money. So this guy, Bruce, must be doing okay.
Well, let's see, I think Frank's a charmer here.
Oh.
I also was thinking back that I like women that have careers. And even as a young person, I preferred to date someone or be involved with someone who was independent. And I also looked at their financial responsibility. Do they take fairly good care of themselves financially as well as health-wise and so forth? And that I agree with Larry about morals. And so you look at and examine a person's habits. Do you really want to be out in public with this particular person? Do you find some of their behavior offensive or embarrassing? And sometimes, in the early stages, we tolerate that kind of stuff. Then later on, we wonder why it comes back to bite us. Well, it business in the first place. We just didn't acknowledge it. It's my personal experience. And also, one of the things, we look for the perfect relationship, but forgetting that people do disappoint each other, even in a very good relationship. And so
yeah, because nobody's perfect.
Right. No,
and you kind of want them to be perfect, though, don't you, a little bit, even though we know that's unrealistic?
That's absolutely true. And then I had to work on myself over the years and examine where I was at and whether or not I was being selfish in the relationship.
Well, Bruce, have you ever been in a relationship, I'm sure not this one, but before, where you start out, you're giving 100%, and she's giving 100%, and then you see that she's only giving 80%. Well, shoot, if she's only going to give 80%, I'm only going to give 80%. And then she might think you're only giving 70%, so she only gives 70%. And then, you know what, pretty soon, nobody's giving anything. And so I'm thinking if you're both trying to give more than 100% with no care whatsoever as to how much the other person's giving, that they'll just naturally start to step up, maybe not as high as what you're doing, but if you keep your expectations in a realistic manner and you just want to just be there for them, then I think it would work better. I also worry, I've brought this up several times on the show, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who I can be friends with on a completely platonic level for quite a while, and then develop into something else later on down the line, because I've found that I've been blinded by my attraction.
That's very true.
Here's the thing. I think that the three levels of attraction are essentially physical, and then there's intellectual. You want connections there too, and then you also want spiritual connections. So ideally, I mean, there are physical connections that you make with people, and that only goes so far. And then there's intellectual connections you can make with other people, and that relationship may go further. And then there's spiritual connections that you have that realistically you can have for a long, long time and feel that connection. You want all three, but you're going to be disappointed at some level with the physical one at some point, because gravity happens and whatever. And you're going to be somewhat disappointed, I think, somewhat intellectually, because not any one person can do it all. So you have to make a connection at some really deep level or high level, and then you just hope you have that for a long time.
Well, I think a long courtship is good because, like Lisa pointed out, someone that, you get to know over a period of time. And my wife and I dated for a couple of years, and we had a very long engagement. And people ask me, okay, well, why do you get along so well? I said, well, sometimes in parts of the day we don't. But we don't go to bed angry, number one. And the other thing is that in the early stages of our relationship, we gave the relationship a better chance than I ever have in my life, and we abstained. And that was part of the spiritual connection. Now, that's not going to work for everyone. It's not easy to do.
That's the point of what I was talking about. Like if you're just friends with them and you get to know them as a person and you really like them for their personality and who they are, and it's not all about hormones going 100 miles an hour, then I just can't imagine that you wouldn't have a better relationship, because then when you added that component, the way they did it, I might remind you, for centuries, up until when? When did they start making that, like the 50s?
Second Tuesday of last week.
No, you really, you had to have chaperones, and you didn't get to know each other in the biblical sense until you were married.
Yeah, I dated in the 40s and well, actually not in the 40s, but from the areas of the 40s, but the 50s, and it was very difficult back in those days because there were chaperones and there was etiquette, and there was a proper way to treat a person. My mother taught me a very long time ago. She said, treat a woman the way you want your sister to be treated. And if you mistreat someone's sister, they'd be very angry at you, and in turn you'd be very angry if they mistreated your sister. So I think I've lived pretty close to that.
That's a brilliant idea. I love that.
I owe that to my mother. I didn't come up with that.
That is brilliant. I think your mother's a very wise woman.
Well, she was.
She was a very wise woman, and I really feel sorry. I mean, my dad used to tell me about, they used to have these things called charm schools. And I often think it would be great to start another charm school here in Beaverton and have all the nice young girls and teach them how to use proper manners and that sort of thing. But I mean, we've lost so much of that, so much class and gentility and chivalry seems to have gone out the window, and everybody in favor of disposable income, disposable society, and I really, that's part of my goal here with the show, Bruce, is to try to bring that out and kind of remind people the humanity of each other, and so that we all get along better, and women understand men better and men understand women, because you men don't normally talk this much.
Relationships are tough, so they're not easy.
No, there's no easy relationship. I think your show offers a forum for people to call in unseen, be able to discuss some of these issues, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them work out some of their issues just because they were able to have a conversation with somebody they can actually see but doesn't really know them and can't look into them, you know what I mean?
And it's an opportunity for, like, you as a man to call in and ask me as a woman. I can give you my woman's perspective for what it's worth, and have a different, fellow on to do it. You'll have to come on. Maybe, how about, do you think you and your wife would want to come on one time?
My wife works behind the scenes on our show, but she is not one to be in front of.
Yeah, see, that's one problem. I've gotten one couple to do it, to do the show. If any couples out there watching the show, both of you want to be on the show, please go to my website that my wonderful producer and yours, director, Dennis Gleason has done for Darkwing Productions, and email me, whatsbetweenus.org, and let me know if you're a couple and you would like to be on the show. So I'd like to have more couples. I'd like to discuss more couple issues, and I think it's best to have both of them on, because if you have one, I've had married men on the show, and a lot of times the wives get a little pissy
they got to go home and explain themselves.
Say again?
I wanted to wish you and Frank well this evening, and thank you for letting me share a little bit with you. I don't normally do that, as you know, but...
Well, Bruce, you talk to your wife. I'd be willing to make an exception if you'd like to come on the show if your wife's cool with the whole thing.
I will discuss that with her, and if that invitation is open, then maybe we could do something in that regard.
Sounds great, Bruce. Well, you have a nice evening. I've got another caller, so I better get going.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Charming guy.
All right. He's great. Barrett.
Yes, hi.
Go ahead, Barrett.
Yeah, most relationships break up because of financial stuff. And I think the ideal relationship would be a couple that, treat each other with respect, fight fair.
Fair. We got to talk about that.
How do you fight fair? We're talking verbally fighting, right?
Yeah,
we don't encourage any sort of physical fighting in this show.
Well, definitely no physical stuff, but I'm saying verbally. Everybody's going to have
their fights.
Little differences once in a while. But what I mean is let the person know how your feelings are being hurt, and without attacking that person, let them know what they can do to so that you don't feel the hurt or whatever it is that they're doing, and tell them what you need from them to alleviate the problem so that you're not having that problem with them. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think what you're saying is communication, right? It's so key.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing?
The other thing is people always think the grass is greener on the other side. In some ways, that's true, because in a way, it's like having a car that you're driving now. It has like brake problems and the engine misfires sometimes, and you trade it in for another one that doesn't do that.
But it has other problems.
It's
got a whole new set of
distributor doesn't
problems.
work, or and then you find yourself unhappy. You're just not happy. And
that's an inner thing too.
Yeah.
You also have to be prepared to look at yourself and see what makes you happy, because you can't always you should never actually look to somebody else for your happiness. They're plus, they're frosting on the cake. They're the cherry on top. They help with your happiness, but you have to have inner happiness through your own accomplishments and your own self-confidence, because it's unfortunate. And women, I think, are worse at that. Do you think women or men are worse at that? Expecting the other person to make them happy.
Another thing I'd say
is
the materialism part's a big deal, because the planet's running out of resources, and the rogue rich people of the world, they're they're not happy, no matter how much money they have.
It's
no matter
not
how
based
much,
on that. So
No,
you can't base it on that.
Yeah,
unhappiness comes from unfulfilled expectations. I think you have to be careful about your expectations. You were talking about that earlier. I think also the grass is always green on the other side of the fence because you can't see, the weeds. I mean, it's all weeds. It might be all weeds over there, just green. So once you get over there, you get to see the weeds. You get to see the crabgrass. You get to see why it's so green.
It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz.
It's got these problems. Yeah, it's got some monkey grass in there that
you had over there on the other side of the fence too.
So anyway, it's great. But yeah, well, is there anything else you'd like to say? We've got one more holding, another person on hold, but I think you make some excellent points.
I think he's out.
He's gone. Okay, well, we're getting a little bit of feedback. Derek, are you still there? Is Derek on the phone? Go ahead, Derek. Ooh,
Derek.
That was a loud one.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Derek. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, Derek, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for calling. So what are your comments on what's between us? Derek? Derek, you've got the TV on. You've got the TV on.
Now.
Can you please turn it off? Thanks.
Okay. Well, I'd like to add to what the gentleman said earlier, how it does change over time with what you're attracted to, who you're attracted to, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a very old man. I'm only 26, 27 years old. But when you're in high school, you're just a kid and you're going after whatever you can get. When you get into college, you wind up going. Well, for me, it's bad, but I only went after only married people, married women. That's all I went after.
As a policy?
When you were in college, you did?
As a personal policy statement, or
now, why would you want to go out with only married women? Because you were afraid to have a relationship?
Yes.
Ah, interesting. And you knew this about yourself, which is makes you very self-aware for somebody at such tender age.
Well, I found that out. I figured it out. I mean, you have enough friends that are women. They tell you that you're a dog and you need to stop that. But and they say that you need to.
So you're 26 now. So what is your policy these days?
Well,
or you say it's changing?
I'm single, but I go out on dates. I date women.
Now, do you usually ask the women out, or you wait for the women to ask you out? I'm just curious.
This is usually, if I ever get in a relationship, it's usually this. I'll usually chase, and then it's kind of weird. I'll get to the point where I'm tired of chasing, and I'll just give up. And then all of a sudden, they will come. Then they'll come after me. It's just, it always works out that way. I have no idea.
You can almost see this on the Animal Planet.
What is your definition?
On the Animal Planet, Discovery Channel.
There you
see it, just how it works.
The chase and yeah, they say it's like a rubber band. If you go away from them, they come towards you, and so vice versa. So when you're in the chasing mode, how does that manifest itself? Are we calling them on the phone, dropping by where they work, or how are you chasing them?
Well, it's usually, you call them on the phone, or, you meet at the coffee place you go to every morning or something like that. Random. So
you just kind of try to plan to run into them, and then you call them on the phone and talk. Do you ask them out on dates? Do you ask them out to go someplace and you pay for it?
I mean, you ask them to go out, and then they do, and then you work at it, and then all of a sudden you're like, this ain't going nowhere, so I'm going to give up.
Now, how do you know it's not going anywhere? Why do you say it's not?
I just get sick and tired of chasing. And
now, what do you mean by chasing? You expect her to start calling and asking you out?
Well, no,
I mean, what's giving you the feeling that you're chasing and she's not responding? How can you tell?
Well, she responds by going out with you, but she hasn't made that step to completely trust you or anything. And not to completely trust you.
She haven't gotten into an intimate relationship or anything. It's a G-rated show. We don't talk about certain things.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything.
So so it doesn't make it to the intimate level. Is that what you're concerned about? So you kind of give up, or what?
Well, sometimes it works out that way. Yes.
Okay. So then she'll call you up. So now we're going through this whole process. So then you'll get you'll just throw your arms up in the air and just kind of quit calling her and quit dropping by where she works or whatever. And then she'll call you up, or what happens next when she starts coming towards you?
And then it all goes back, and somehow it just all falls into play. It's kind of weird. It's just then you know that they want you.
Because she must call you or something, right?
Yeah, there's the gatekeepers.
Once they make the move, then you know then I know I'm usually.
Then you know.
Yeah, because you're you're the key master, and they're the gatekeepers, and
you're the key master. I am the gatekeeper.
So the
gatekeepers. Ghostbusters. I just bought that DVD. Wasn't that a great one? Yeah. But I'm just curious because it has been my experience since I've been single for these 15 years. It found it very difficult to find men that'll ask me out on a date. So you actually ask them out on a date, or do you just kind of hint that you're available if they'd like to ask you out, and then they can pay the bill?
Oh, no. I grew up to where I paid for everything. Well, I grew up in a whole different area, too. I went to college in Tennessee.
Oh, good. A nice Southern gentleman with Southern manners. I think this is a lumberjack thing they got going up here in the Northwest. I'm not from the Northwest, so you could probably tell.
I found it's really difficult to find a woman that understands that.
Yeah, I wish there were more. I mean, some men are more chivalrous than others, and there's huge exceptions to that rule. It's just there are huge exceptions. There's some wonderful guys that I know that are great about that, and then others that they just don't feel that that should be part of what they're responsible for, and so it's frustrating sometimes. And I've interviewed women. I actually did. I have another DVD, but we don't have time because we just have like 3 more minutes or something like that. So
I do want to say one thing though.
Go right ahead.
What you're talking about is the sending your daughters or granddaughters or whatever to finishing school and stuff. My sisters and my cousins and everybody has done that.
Really? Good for them.
Yeah. And then my grandfather, he actually started a school for the boys. All the boys. He actually even did it for the high school, the local high school in Tennessee.
Wow.
See, that's what they need to have here in Portland. I think whoever started one of those charm schools. We didn't call it charm school, but we had a dancing class that all the properly brought up boys and girls from our town in Tulsa took dance classes there, and then they would teach you how to hold the boys how to hold the coat for the woman, and what's the best way to help them on with their coat, and in different manners, asking people to dance, of course, and lots of different things like that. But and actually, I was a debutante.
Have you? Have you seen some of the high school dances recently?
No, they like hang on each other. It's probably like that. Anyway, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to say? Because we probably only have like a minute left now.
No, you guys have a great night, and thank you for.
Thanks for watching, and we're on the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of every month, 8 to 9 o'clock on Channel 11. So watch us, okay?
All righty.
Call in again. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Yeah. So what did you think? Is it as painful as you thought it was going to be when I recruited you over the phone? We just met each other tonight. It's just too funny.
Not so bad, yeah. We have a mutual friend, and it was fun.
And speaking of mutual friends, can we do a little quick, do we have time for a quick visit to the control room so everybody can say hello and we can see? Christy, move towards Dennis because we can't see you. Okay, now look up in the corner. There's Christy. That's the mutual friend. And my son's down there. You can't see him. And we got Josh Ross, and of course our wonderful director Dennis Gleason, who we want to thank once again, Darkwing Productions. He puts up our streaming video. You can watch our old shows. He's taking care of it by putting it on Google Video, What's Between Us, and it's a lot of fun. So check us out the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of the month. If you didn't get to call in tonight, please do so then, because we want you to be the 3rd person in our conversation. Thanks a lot. I'm Lisa Michaels here with
Frank Zagunis.
And we really enjoyed you guys tonight.
Thank you.